Tonight, Valley Democrats are reacting to the election and the results both locally and nationally. One of the races they kept a close eye on was the 36th Congressional District, which covers the entire Coachella Valley. So far, Democratic incumbent Raul Ruiz remains in a commanding lead over Republican challenger Aaron Cruz. I spoke with the political director for the Democratic headquarters of the desert, Elle Kurpiewski. Elle, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me to be with you.
First off, your reaction to the results we've seen so far, both locally and nationally, and are you surprised?
Very. And I think it would be a very good idea for pollsters to be looking for a new line of work. We are, I think all of us, including the quite frankly, the Republicans, we've got to be surprised at what we're seeing. We knew there was a possibility that the election would continue on. The count would take a few days. I am hoping that the count will continue. I hope that every ballot, every person who voted will have their vote count.
From your perspective, Elle, what are some of the key takeaways from this election?
You know, I don't know what to say to that, because I know that I know we, the Democrats, worked very, very hard on this election. I think we still have a great candidate in Joe Biden and in Kamala Harris, but we are also dealing with a man who has the ability to command the networks and command attention everywhere he goes and anytime he says anything. And that's a tough road to go against. It really is. Let's face it, he gets the #1 coverage every single night on every station, cable and otherwise, for whatever he does. And it's tough to go against that. We've never had a situation like this before. And it's daunting, to say the least.
Nationally, there was certainly not a blue wave that many Democrats had predicted, and it appears that Republicans will retain control of the Senate. What do you make of that and the fact the presidential race remains so tight in several key states?
Again, I look at the amount of coverage that comes from the president, his ability to have coverage, and that trickles down, if you will. I'm very surprised at some of the Senate seats of what happened. Certainly Joni Ernst in Iowa, who in her debate did not know the price of corn in her state. Susan Collins in Maine, I fully expected Sarah Gideon to take that seat because there was such an unpopularity about Susan Collins in Maine and some of the votes that she's taken, particularly in the case, as an example, of Kavanaugh. And yet the people voted. So I don't fully understand what's going on here, except that I believe that there's been the discussion in the media this morning, as a matter of fact, that there are people that support Trump that don't admit it openly, but they go and vote. I find that weird, and I find it kind of scary that people are voting that way, that they're afraid to say something, because it's not the Democrats who have been causing some of the violence. We're not the ones walking around with AK-47s or AR-15s on our backs. So it's interesting to me, Peter, as to what's going on here. I don't understand it, and it's going to take some time to analyze and to understand what's going on.
Locally, Democratic incumbent Congressman Raul Ruiz, State Assemblyman Eduardo Garcia, and Independent State Assemblyman Chad Mayes appear to be keeping their seats, and there were also some wins for progressive candidates in cities like Palm Desert and Palm Springs. So what do you think that says about Valley voters?
What it says about Valley voters is that we have really great candidates who are really out there for us, their constituents. Congressman Ruiz, certainly he's got a Facebook that you can click into and stay in contact. He's really there for the people of this community, of this district. Same thing with Eduardo Garcia. And Chad Mayes is a declined estate. The fact remains that he has he has done a good job, and the people know that. The people know that Raul and Eduardo and Chad have done some good work for this community. Kristen's vote and election in Palm Desert. Hey, that's a turnaround for us. That's really good news. And of course, the fact that Christy Holstage won and Lisa Middleton won for Palm Springs, and a newcomer, Denise Delgado, who just did terrific in Indio. In Coachella. This is all good stuff. This means to me, primarily what it's saying to me is that the young folks, our young activists, are stepping forward. They're getting into the arena, as Teddy Roosevelt used to call it, and they're winning elections. They're doing good work.
All right. Ellie, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for asking me. It's going to be a long, interesting day. And they said that was what was going to be yesterday. And my golly, we're having a double on that one, aren't we?
You're right.
Take care, Peter. Thank you so much for the interview. Appreciate it.
It's important to mention we were also scheduled to speak today with the president of the East Valley Republicans Women Federated to get local Republican reaction. But right before the interview began, she said that she was unable to speak with us today.